You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18 this Friday morning, starting off the show with thoughts and prayers to all those who lost their lives in the disastrous Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad last afternoon. I'm Hormas Fatakia. With me is Vamakshi Dhuria. Vamakshi, it's a somber start. It's everything possibly and surrounded by a barrage of negative news flow.
Well, absolutely, Hormas. It's one bad news after another that is coming in for everyone out here, and of course today it is expected to be a very important session on that note. Let's get started with the top headlines then. Futures fall sharply on escalating tensions in West Asia. Stocks in the Asia Pacific also trade largely lower on the back of this news flow. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a lower start for the Indian market.
Tensions in West Asia have worsened after Israel conducts military strikes on Iran. Israel's defense minister has declared a special state of emergency in the country. The U.S. Secretary of State says that the United States was not involved in the attacks.
Crude oil prices jump 8% after Israel launches airstrikes against Iran. Brent trades around $74 a barrel. Gold prices too rise more than 1% amid rising geopolitical risks.
And the latest around the tragic Air India plane crash. Rescue operations have been completed at the site of the crash. Air India has confirmed 241 fatalities with one sole survivor. Several bodies were also recovered from the medical college the Dreamliner crashed into, and the total death toll from there is not known yet.
Inflation slows to 2.8%, the lowest in more than 6 years. Food prices accelerate less than 1%. Prices of cereals and pulses fall the most.
And in what is India's worst air tragedy in recent years, an Air India flight which was bound for London tragically crashed into a medical college hostel just 59 seconds after takeoff. Air India has confirmed that out of the 242 people on board, one sole survivor has emerged, a British national of Indian origin who is currently receiving medical attention. The 242 passengers on board included 169 Indians, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian. Notably, former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was also listed as a passenger. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has pledged a thorough and impartial investigation into an incident. And our colleague Madhya, who is on the location right now, is joining us with the latest on this. Madhya, what are the latest updates that you are picking up from the site?
Well, Hormuz, this was the Boeing 787 Dreamliner that was operating the flight AI 171 from Ahmedabad to London, as you were mentioning. The flight crashed within seconds after it took off from the runway. There were 242 passengers on board, including the 2 pilots and 10 crew members. Only one passenger has miraculously survived. There were also foreign nationals on board, as you were mentioning. The flight was carrying 125,000 liters of fuel for a long journey to London, and that led to the huge explosion, and that also led to the victims, the bodies of the victims charred to death. The investigation is underway, but what we know so far is that the pilot had announced Mayday just once, after which there was no communication with the ATC, and the plane immediately crashed after it had taken off from 670 feet. This is the first time in history that Boeing 787 plane has been involved in a fatal accident. The earlier tragedies involved Boeing 777, 737 NG, 737 MAX, and the 747. But this is the first time that a 787 Dreamliner plane has been involved in a fatal accident. This is not the only. This is the only biggest air accident of 2025, but also a major one since 2023. So in 2023, Yeti Airlines had crashed in Nepal that had killed 72 passengers. Then in December 2024, there were 2 fatal accidents. Azerbaijan Airlines plane that crashed landed in Kazakhstan where 32 people died. Then the Jeju Air crash landing at Muan Airport in South Korea where 179 people had died. Now, there are other casualties as well. Apart from the passengers in Ahmedabad, the plane crashed directly into a hostel complex of a medical hostel complex, severely damaging the super specialty resident quarters and the boys' hostel mess and the nearby buildings. We are yet to get clarity on what is the casualty number from that area, and we will keep updating you on what the total death toll is from this tragedy.
Well, Madiha, could you also help us with the possible reasons for the crash of the airplane then?
While the investigation is still on and the voice recorders from the cockpit will tell us the truth, but what we know so far is there could be three likely reasons. The first one could be performance miscalculation. For every takeoff, the pilots calculate the required speed and power setting based on aircraft weight, weather, and the runway conditions. In the case of AI-171, the data from Flight Radar 24 shows that the aircraft used nearly the entire runway, which is very unusual. Typically, takeoff occurs around two-thirds of the runway. So this suggests that a possible lack of sufficient thrust, which is power or speed, and if the aircraft was too heavy or if the engines did not provide the required power, it may not have reached the takeoff decision speed, and hence we could see it descending immediately after takeoff. The second reason could be incorrect flap settings. It is also being widely talked about. Flaps are very critical during takeoff. They are designed to increase the lift at lower speeds, allowing the aircraft to become airborne sooner. So correct settings will mean more lift. Too much or too little will mean excess drag or reduced lift. So in case of AI-171, it is possible that the flaps were either deployed properly or set at an incorrect angle. For instance, if they were set too far, which is more like a landing configuration, they would increase the drag instead of a lift, slowing the aircraft during the takeoff. That could be one reason. The third reason, which is very less likely but cannot be ruled out, is bird strike. Ahmedabad Airport is known to have a high bird presence, especially near the runway. If multiple birds were ingested in the engines during the takeoff roll or rotation, it could lead to power loss and complete engine failure. So these are the three scenarios that would have led to the crash, but we will still wait for the analysis of the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder.
Right. Madhya, thank you so much for all these detailed analysis of what transpired and what could have been the likely reasons. Of course, these are hypotheses, and we would await the outcome of the investigation for the actual reason behind this tragic accident. Now, Air India chairman N. Chandrasekaran has called the plane crash a devastating tragedy and the worst day of his professional career. Speaking to Shireen Bhan, he said that they have announced that the company will provide 1 crore rupees to each family of those who lost their lives. Listen in.
It is a totally devastating tragedy, and we are all totally shocked and deeply affected, and our immediate focus is to help the people, the families of people who have experienced this tragedy. We are working through that at this point in time. We are trying to set up all the support systems, the emergency helpline number, and on-the-ground support. A lot of people from Air India have flown from Delhi to be here on the ground. So we're creating all those infrastructure. While we are trying to do all of this, we are also working with the authorities to see the investigation and the root cause, etc. I have spoken to the CEO of Boeing, and I've also asked him to send the best expert to work with us in this whole process. To help the families, we just announced that we will provide 1 crore for each family of the person who lost their life. And also we will be providing all the medical related expenses for all the people who are injured. And we will also try to help to rebuild that infrastructure in the hostel where the crash actually happened. It is the worst day of my professional career. I can tell you that.
And Chandrasekharan there, the chairman of Air India. We take a short break. We get you up to speed with all the market action on the other side. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Well, yesterday the markets were on edge given the rising tensions in the Middle East, and there has been a major escalation overnight. Israel has launched a strike on Iran. They're targeting nuclear programs with airstrikes, and resultantly, we're seeing Brent spike up in trade as much as 7 to 8%, and that is having an impact on the emerging markets. Look at Asia. All of the markets are trading in the red. The Japanese Nikkei is down almost 1%. Apart from that, when we look at the Kospi as well, it is trading with a cut of almost 0.7%. Hang Seng is actually the only index in the Asia Pacific region which is trading marginally in the green. The Taiwanese index also not doing too well, down almost 0.6%. As far as our own Indian markets is concerned, the GIFT Nifty will come up for you, telling us how the Indian markets are expected to open. For now, the GIFT Nifty is trading, it's a gap down start, 224 points lower as far as the GIFT Nifty is concerned. And I think the same bodes well for the US markets then, Hormaz, especially the futures.
No, indeed, and the US futures were the ones that took the first beating after this news of Iran attacking Israel emerged earlier in this morning. The Dow futures are down almost 600 points. And that is also having an impact on our GIFT Nifty as well. But what are the cues that we need to watch out for in today's session? Vivek is now joining in with just that. Vivek, good morning. What are you picking up today?
Well, good morning. Like you rightly mentioned, just prior, there's been a significant escalation of tensions, especially as far as the Middle East is concerned. Israel has gone ahead and attacked Iran. And, along with the fact that there has been a significant increase as far as the key commodity that we track very closely, that is oil prices are concerned. Brent now hovering around the $75 a barrel mark. And remember, that will have an impact as far as the Indian stocks too are concerned, especially the oil sensitive. So watch out for OMCs in trade today. There could be significant pressure over there. On the other hand, names like ONGC as well as Oil India could benefit from higher realizations. But also watch out for the other crude sensitives, names like paint stocks, names like airline companies. All of these stocks too could get under pressure as the key input material gets significantly higher priced. Like you rightly mentioned, the Asian markets, all of them on the back of geopolitical tensions are trading much weaker, and the GIFT Nifty 2 is indicating a gap down start of over 1%. So overall, a very muted start, and this mainly on the back of geopolitical tensions that have seemed to escalate, especially in the last couple of hours.
Well, thanks so much for that, Vivek. And finally, we now have Sudarshan joining in with cues from the F&O space. Sudarshan?
Morning, Vamakshi. Not a great start to the day. Yesterday, we saw Nifty snapping 6-day gaining streak, and today also tracking geopolitical tensions. GIFT Nifty is indicating start with major cuts. Current GIFT Nifty is down almost 200 points. On the flows front, yesterday we saw FIs buying more than rupees 3,800 crore, while it was offset by DIs which bought more than rupees 9,300 crore. Even in the index futures too, FIs have sold more than rupees 2,300 crore, and they have added more short positions than long positions, and now FIs long exposure has reduced to less than 20%. On the option front, on the call side, we saw 25,000 call was the most active ones, while on the put side, 24,400 was amongst the most active ones. Support for Nifty is seen around 24,600, while resistance remains around 25,230. 9 stocks are in the band. One stock that has entered band yesterday was Birlasoft.
Indeed, Birlasoft is the new entrant in the F&O band. Sudarshan, thanks a lot for that. Getting you some macro cues now. Inflation has slowed to 2.8% last month, and this is the slowest headline inflation for India that has been seen in the last 6 years. Now, food prices have accelerated less than 1%, while prices of cereals and pulses fell the most in the month gone by. There you can see the inflation picture on your screen. We'll take a short break. Cues from the commodities market on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, in the latest from West Asia, Israel has launched preemptive airstrikes on Iran. The Iranian media has said that explosions were heard in the capital city of Tehran. Now, this comes as tensions mounted over US's efforts to win Iran's agreement to halt production of materials for an atomic bomb. Israel's defense minister said that it was declaring a state of emergency in anticipation of a missile and drone attack by Tehran. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that they are targeting Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb.
Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Well, let's now go across to Manisha Gupta, who joins us now with all the updates from the commodity space.
Thank you for that, Ramakshi. Well, yes, it has been a very, very strong opening for the crude oil price. It's up by 8% in the Asian markets right now as we are trading above $75 a barrel for Brent. It's a 2-month high as well. And this perhaps is going to be the best weekly performance that crude is going to put since 2022. As you guys were mentioning, well, yes, Israel conducting preemptive strikes on Iran and saying and declaring state of emergency as it braces for retaliation from Iran does tell you that it is going to be a busy weekend in that sense. We already do understand that the U.S. personnel have continued to be moved out of the region. Iran has threatened to target U.S. bases if the nuclear talks fail. So there's various statements that we've been hearing, and that has keeping the crude oil prices on the higher side. But now as we see action on ground, that has just led to very, very elevated and volatile moves coming for the crude oil prices. Not just crude, if you look at natural gas, heating oil, gasoline prices, they are all trading at a 4% high right now and trading at a multi-month highs too. The safe haven buying also has come in case of gold prices, which are trading at a 1-month highs and now just about $60 to $70 away from its all-time highs. As the day proceeds, the markets do believe that you could be looking at higher highs. Also supporting is the dollar index, which has now declined to a 3-year lows below 98. So with the kind of move that we're looking at, I think gold and crude should be on radar.
Indeed, they should be. Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Now, meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has issued a statement saying that the United States was not involved in these attacks, calling it a unilateral move by Israel.
Well, in another somber news, Sanjay Kapoor, chairman of Sona Comstar, a global automotive components company headquartered in Gurugram, passed away at the age of 53 after suffering a heart attack in the UK.
That we call time on this edition of Power Breakfast from Amakshimi and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call on the other side.